Scott, we're now recording.
Oh. So do you know what you get when you cross an elephant and a rhino?
I actually do know. I'll let them answer. That's a dad joke, Scott.
Of course it is.
Scott's the only Olympus Mons finisher with a dad bod. So,
I know.
wait, what'd you say? I missed it.
Oh, Elefino.
Elefino, and then it's being recorded. Okay, let's give some folks just a couple more minutes to come in. I know it's the first time. Patty, we should probably start 15 minutes earlier than we want to start in the future. So.
Yeah, or kind of let people filter in as they filter in. Yeah, okay. I would say let's give them like maybe 3 more minutes and get going.
Agreed. Tasha, how's it going for you? I see you're working hard. Going to get back on the stage this year?
I am doing everything I can to make it to the stage this year. I have a new coach and he's feeding me. If you can imagine that, I get to eat. It's really cool. But yeah, I'm working hard. I think, well, I will make it. There's no doubt.
Fantastic.
I don't know if it'll be before I climb again or after, and I don't really care, but we were shooting for May and then I got sick. So it kind of set me back a little bit, but we'll see.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. Thank you for sharing. What I'm going to do is I'll introduce myself first to Nancy. Hi, Nancy. And Julie. I'm John Kolker, founder and CEO of IronHike. And with me today, I have Coach Patty. She's going to be running the show here in just a minute. And Dr. Scott Festa. Scott's a co-founding member of the team. And he is the first non-finisher and first finisher of Olympus Mons and holds the fastest known time. Although that's not really a thing for us. It's kind of interesting that he did it in just around 63 hours. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just as a matter of protocol, I'm going to mute everybody. And if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat. So the chat's a little icon right down there on the right, if you can see it. And it would be really cool if you could tell us where you're dialed in from, like what state at least, or where you're at. So, and if you don't know each other, the chat might be not a bad way to ping each other and say, hey, how do I follow you on Facebook or whatever while we're engaged, right? So with that, I'm going to start trying to mute everyone that hasn't muted themselves. Nancy, here, I'm muting you. Okay. And Tasha, I'm muting you. You're muted. Okay. And with that, I'm going to mute myself and turn it over to Patty, Coach Patty.
All right. Thank you, John. So we're kind of just doing our inaugural coaching session today, talking about training the mind and the body for the summit. We will be kind of breaking some of this down into more detailed sections, like we're going to do an entire coaching call just on mindset, etc. So this is kind of to set the stage. And Scott and I will both be talking about that since he's got a lot of experience doing endurance events and has quite a background to support this. So just kind of starting off, it's really helpful, particularly with mindset, just going into any event, but particularly with IronHike, is to know why you're doing it. And it can be something simple. It doesn't have to be anything earth-shattering. It can be, marking a passage of time. Maybe it's a particular birthday, or maybe you just want to see if you're, able to do something. A lot of people have much stronger reasons, but knowing why you want to participate in an event or accomplish something like this can be incredibly helpful. So even just, jotting a few things down, like, why do I want to do this? All my friends are saying I'm crazy. Well, maybe I am, but why? Why do I want to do it? So really kind of knowing your why, I think, is super important. Because desire and determination equal discipline, and discipline is what's going to get you there. You're not always going to feel like training, and that shouldn't matter. You're going to train anyway. So I think knowing your why and really being clear about your desire is super useful. Scott, you want to add anything to that little first tidbit?
Yeah, I think discipline is so very important. That the saying that discipline beats motivation. It's so true. It is. I don't like cold plunges. I hate cold plunges, right? I think they're useless. Like metabolically, I don't feel anything associated with them, like the good feelings or this or that. I don't feel any of that. But I do know that every day for 3 minutes, it's going to suck, and I'm going to have a better day because I have already won, right? I've already won. So when I get up at a certain time every day, I make my bed every day, and I cold plunge every day. Those three things. I walk into my day with 3 wins. And then so yeah, but discipline way better. And later on, I'll tell you what I think the definition of discipline really is. But I don't want to go too long into the tooth, so I'm going to turn right back over to Patty.
Thank you, Scott. And so true. Really, like I love what you said because it's so true. You can't rely on motivation. You have to have discipline. And, you know, all of the research studies show mood follows action. If you wait until you're in the mood for it, you're not going to do it. You do it and then you'll feel better, just like Scott said. So yeah, absolutely with the wins. And, you know, another thing that you can do as you're preparing to start training for the summit that's also incredibly helpful is to visualize your success. Interestingly enough, in your brain doesn't know what's reality out here or reality in here. It's a reason that a lot of Olympians use visualization. A lot of professional athletes use visualization. It can be incredibly effective if you immerse yourself in the experience. So I know that I do this a lot for a lot of different reasons, but particularly helpful like in a climb like this. So when I signed up for IronHike, I knew it was going to be a challenge. And one of the things I did after checking them out really well is I visualized my finish. I visualized what it was going to feel like to throw that last wooden coin in that bucket. I visualized hitting my wall and pushing through it. I visualized these guys handing me a cookie and putting a medal around my neck. I visualized how it felt. I visualized how tired I was. Like I just immersed myself in that whole experience and made it be true. And it was. And so really doing that as you're preparing to summit, like really seeing your success, not just going, yeah, I'm going to rock it, but like experiencing it. Like, this is what it's going to feel like. I'm going to be tired as all get out, and I might be cranky and I might be emotional. Well, this is what it's going to feel like when I take that last lap. This is what it's going to feel like when I finish everything out, or this is what it's going to feel like, you know, when I do whatever it is that I've set my mind to. The visualization and that prior experience primes your body for it and helps make it real. So it's just kind of a neat little trick that doesn't take any special training. It just takes a little bit of quiet time to sit and visualize. Scott, any additions to that? I think you're muted, Scott.
You are on mute, Scott.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, we can
Much
hear you.
better.
Okay.
Yeah, technologically speaking, I will be always bad. But discipline is working today to keep tomorrow's promises that you made yesterday.
Wonderful.
That's, to me, that's what it is. And like Patty said, there's always a why, and that why, whatever that why is for you, is what you hold on to. Yeah, it's I can't stress that why. At the end, I'll tell you my why story of why, and not exactly how I made it through Special Forces assessment and selection, and that's where they assess you to become a Green Beret. Like that's just a little, hey, how you doing? Thanks. Okay, you can come train with us, but you're not anything. But at the end, if you guys have time and want to hear it, I'll tell you my why for that, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think if there's time, I'd love to hear that myself. I have something to add. When I was putting myself, the second time I went to college, I was at the University of Arizona, and I had 18 months to finish 3 years of school between military enlistments. And the Army had sent me off to finish school. And so what I did was I went out and I bought the most expensive frame that I could get, gold leaf, and I left it empty, a place for the medallion from the school and a place for the for the actual diploma. And I set it next to my desk in my little apartment there at the University of Arizona. And I walked past it all day long, every day, back and forth. And I kept looking at it empty. And the goal was to see that empty frame day in and day out and know that I was going to put a diploma in there, right? And so the visualization of that was really powerful. And then right now, as you know, I attempted the Everest challenge or the Everest event in fall, and I missed it by 8 laps, but I kept going on the day afterwards. And so I'm coming back to do it again in 2025. I want to have a good redemption experience. So I have those summit tokens stacked on my desk next to a finisher's hat that I don't own yet. And it's the visualization of having that accomplishment sits next to me all day long, every day right now. So just the power of visualization. It's a human thing, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, John, for sharing that. Very cool. Well, let's kind of move on a little bit into training the body. And, just for the record, the mindset stuff to me is fascinating. It's one of my passions and something I do a lot of coaching on. So if it's something you're interested in, there are some super cool tricks that I can share with you when we do the mindset coaching call that's just about mindset. So make sure that you sign in for that one. Moving on to training the body. So we've got, all levels and different distances that we do at IronHike. And so I kind of think it's important to just sort of speak to all levels really quickly about that. And then we'll go into more detail and, of course, answer y'all's questions. But if you are already an accomplished endurance athlete, if you run marathons or half marathons and you're, regular training, you're already on the right path because this is an endurance event. So keep doing what you're doing. My 2 cents worth, having seen a lot of people do these events, is don't skimp on the strength. You need to have strong legs and strong core too. And also, just play with the idea of vertical ascent and descent. Even if you're like a trail runner or whatever, and you're doing marathons, going continuously up steep and continuously down steep is going to work your quads, your hams, and your glutes a little differently. So I know even in my training, we've got hills here, but nothing really steep. I did a ton of step ups. Bleachers are a great option. If you can get to a stadium, run up and down bleachers, do hill repeats. Even if you've got a short hill, try and find your steepest incline, go up and down. That's kind of what I recommend if you're already a fairly elite level. If you're not a distance runner and you're not a long hiker and you're doing a shorter distance and you're starting out more on the beginner end, it's okay. You can still do this. I'm going to tell you 100%, you're still fine. On the IronHike page, there is a preset training program by the Chasky Group, and it's very comprehensive. You can just follow that. You start off slow, doing shorter distances, but wherever you're at in your training program, from rank beginner all the way up to endurance athlete, you want to have at least one longer duration and distance day a week if you can. So if you're just starting out, maybe you're working up from like 3 miles to 4 or 5 miles, you go longer, at least one day each week. If you're an endurance athlete, you probably got the distance, but don't skimp on the strength and the hills. Even if you're starting off, you can step up and down stairs, you can run up and down stairs, whatever it is. But don't shortchange your body, because going up and down is really different than going flat. Scott, you want to add to that?
Yes, I have to unmute for it first. So yeah, I don't care how big the hill is or isn't. Be on a hill for this. Just be on a hill. It does not matter if it's a 100-meter hill and that's all you got. It's a 100-meter hill, and you will be far better. Hills are leg days. Hills are speed days. Hills are amazing. You should always be. But for this event here, be on a hill. Right. People came and they said, people who were Everesting said, oh yeah, we're going to Everest. It's not going to be a problem. Right. And it was a problem. Right. They came down and they were used to going on a different company, right, where you go down, or you walk up, but you ride down. Right. And it was the down that got them. right? It was the down that got him. And they said, and there was a couple of people who were doing my event, and I think 8 people started my event and only 1 finished, right? And they're like, oh man, this is easy, it's too easy. It's not a big deal. And inside the like lap 8, they were like, oh, the downhills. And they didn't anticipate for them. It was a lot harder than what they thought, right? So when I tell you prep for the downhills, right? I cannot stress that enough. Prep for the downhills. And that was the common denominator. Everyone came down, and you could tell who was going to make it, who was doing strong, and you would know how strong someone was doing, not by when they turned around and started walking up, but how they looked when they came down. That's the determining factor right there. So be on a hill.
Hey, so
Absolutely.
I posted the download link for Training Plans right here in the chat.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, John. That's awesome. That is awesome. So yeah, tagging off of what Scott said, just a little known fact, shear force at the knee joint. For anybody that has knee issues, you know the downhills are the ones that get you. So it's interesting that the shear force at your knee joint is 3 times your body weight when you go uphill, but it is 7 times your body weight when you come downhill. So keeping your quadriceps strong is really critical. Just kind of along those same lines, like we're saying, practice on a hill. You also want to just practice standing. If you're doing one of the longer events, if you sit at a desk or you're, stuck in an office job, you need to practice being on your feet. Get a standing desk. Get up every 15 minutes or every 10 minutes if you can. You want to take time to actually be on your feet for a good distance, because you're going to be on your feet a long time. Even if you do our 12-hour event, that's still 12 hours, right? So most of us don't stay on our feet for that long. If you're doing the longer events, it's super helpful. Yes, John, I see your chat. We are going to cover Julie's foot thing towards the end, though. We're going to keep on with the training stuff, and then I'm going to hit the questions at the end. Thank you for bringing that up.
Let me jump in real quick. I want to mention one thing about the downhill as well.
Yeah.
If you're training on a downhill, right, do not discount training traversing going downhill. I don't care how wide the lane is, right? You can still traverse this way going up or going down, especially going down, right? And that is going to help relieve some of the stress and tension off of those knees. It's going to change that 3-to-1, that 7-to-1 ratio to something lower than that, right? And that's what you want. So like just going straight down is not the way. All right. Again, I don't care if the lane is 3 feet wide. You can do this on it, and you should do that on it. So, and going back to mute.
Yep, wonderful, Scott. Yeah, that is such a good point. The zigzagging, the traversing, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. So practicing being on your feet, doing your traverses, I recommend if you're going to do an event like this, you should train outside regardless of the weather. If you are hiking in the summer, it can still get cold at night. You can still get chilled. It might rain. Don't assume that you're going to have perfect, pristine conditions. The things that you can control are your mindset, your fuel, your hydration, and your training. Those are the things that you need to concentrate on. You're not going to be able to control the weather and a lot of other things. And so it's really good to kind of get yourself used to being outside, train in the rain, train in the cold, train in the heat. Try and get yourself really ready for anything that the event throws at you.
I've been to 3 events, and the weather's not been the same on any of them. It's been very different, not the same, very different on all 3 of them. It went from torrential downpours to cold to hot, right? So it didn't matter what time of the year it was, right? When you get, like when you go to summit on the Appalachian Trail, your summit day is your summit day. If it's cloudy, that's your summit day. You don't get to pick, like that's what it is. So 3 times, different weather every time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the last thing I was just going to kind of throw out in this more generalized training is, during your training, it's the perfect time to kind of dial in, practice, and experiment with your gear, your footwear, your clothing, your fuel sources. You don't want to do anything new when you show up for the event, right? So don't get brand new shoes and show up at the mountain. Don't wear some cute new outfit that you've never worn before and you don't know if it's going to chafe, right? It's none of that stuff is going to matter when you start hitting your wall. You just need to be in shoes that you are used to, that you're comfortable with, clothes that you've worn before. You know what you're putting in your body isn't going to cause gastrointestinal distress or anything else. So it's a great time for you to really practice. And we're also going to be doing a thing on gear. So we're going to keep this short. I'm kind of out of time. I want to make sure and get to Julie. But John, you had something you wanted to tag in on that?
Yeah, just on your point of not doing anything new on event series day. We published very early on in the Mountain Athletes Guide exactly what snacks are available. Don't try any of our snacks for the first time on event series day, right? So like, for example, Scratch is a sponsor of ours, and we announced that very early. So we see a lot of people buying Scratch products and trying them before they get to us, so that they're accustomed to them and they know whether or not they work for them. I think Tasha did that. So it's very important to know and follow us to see what it is we're providing for food. Trying something that we're serving the first time on your event series day could be a catastrophe for you.
Absolutely.
And honestly, sometimes some of the food that John gets is I'm not going to mention the ramen.
Right.
That's awesome. So true. So true. And you can also always, if you do have, particular food preferences, et cetera, you can always bring your own as well. But yeah, good points all. So just a couple of things, and then we'll kind of like open up the chat. So we had some of you guys, thank you for writing in and asking some questions. And Julie, I know that you were one of the ones that asked about the shorter, more intense sessions. And I see in the chat that you said you do have access to hills. So really, that's one of the things that you can like really maximize your time with. Like Scott said, that can be a sprint session. You can sprint up and down bleachers. If you've only got 20 minutes, you can get your cardio and your strength in. You can go slower and do double bleachers. So it's more like a high sustained lunge. You can get all of your training in. I recommend doing that. You can, air squats in between there. You don't have to have a lot of special equipment. You can do even little movement snacks. I know you said that you are kind of short on time. I'm a big fan of movement snacks. If you've got 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, 5 minutes here, jump squats, things like that. You can pop off 10 in like 60 seconds and go on about your day if you are in a position where you can do that sort of thing. But just work it in. It doesn't have to be one long session. Like I said, it is useful if you can do a long session maybe once a week. But if you're short on time, maximize it by getting in the hills. Like Scott said, use it as strength, use it as sprint. Like just keep doing the hills since you have them in your area, and then just get creative with walking lunges on hills. Up and down can be super helpful. That sort of thing. And if you've got good knees and ankles, like I said, the jump squats, that sort of thing can also be really helpful because you'll get your cardio and also build up your strength. Scott, did you want to add anything to that?
I just typed something really quick when, like on days that I don't have time to work out, and I try to work out every day. But on days that I can't, and I know that I have laws in my day, I just do a quick bring Sally down. Everybody know it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just Nancy's giving me a look. So it's a song, and it's bring Sally down, bring Sally up, bring Sally down, right? And you can just buy the song for $1.29. And every time it says bring Sally down, I'm squatting, and it says bring Sally up, I'm up. And it's one song, and that's really all the song says. It doesn't say much else. But it's just a quick reminder, like, oh, you know what? I got time to bring Sally up and bring Sally down, and then you're just doing squats for like 3 minutes. I knock it out. I close it out with 30 push-ups, and that's my quick. Right. If I'm sleepy or if I'm groggy or I know I can't get a workout in, I'll do a couple of those things, and then that'll be it.
Perfect. And we also had a question. I don't know if Juliana is on the call. I can't see everybody that's on. We'll cover this super quick in case she watches the recording. Juliana was worried about her feet, blisters, and black toenails. So blisters come from friction. There's a lot of things that you can do about that. A lot of people like to wear the socks that have the toes in them. Some people use the anti-chafing cream like Salty Britches or some of those. I'm a big fan of long-term fix for that, which is good, healthy toe splay, and then you don't have friction. And then if you lace your shoes correctly, that helps alleviate black toenails from doing all the downhill, but you might still have some. So hopefully that helps Juliana. And then we also, Nancy wrote in and asked, like how the IronHike mental training can translate health and mobility improvements for someone that's not going to IronHike. And I think a lot of the visualization is super helpful. In the mindset thing, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about some other techniques, like how you can speak to yourself and that sort of thing. But I think in that context, what Scott was talking about, which is just, discipline, doing the things you don't want to do, getting the wins first thing in the day, the small things that you can win at right off the bat. I think those are things that help in any aspect of life. That's my 2 cents worth. Scott, what would you add to that?
For blisters, keeping your feet dry is paramount, right? When I hiked the Appalachian Trail, when I summited a couple of mountains here and there, I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention. I just wore, honestly, a pair of darn tough socks and moved on about my business. But for this, I bought a couple of pairs of toe socks, right? Not in Gingy, not the really super expensive ones, but just a pair of toe socks. I literally bought 6 or 12 pair off of Amazon, and I think I maybe spent $20 on a 6-pack. They were not very expensive. And then I followed those up with a darn tough sock on top, and to make sure I had a shoe with a wide toe box. And the final thing was the runner's lace. So if you don't know how to do a runner's lace or a lock-in lace, I think it's what it's really called, let me know. I'll pull out a pair of shoes and I'll show you how to do it. But it's really, really helpful to stabilize that foot so it's not sliding down every time you take a down step.
Correct.
Because you're not on a gondola.
Yeah, the black toenails happen because your toes are banging the front of your foot box on the way down, on a downhill. And so if you there's a way to tie your shoes that keep your toes from touching the front of your shoe on the descent. And anyone that does a lot of long distance hiking, as soon as they learn it, it changes their lives. So absolutely. So we're almost at time though. Want to be cognizant of everyone's time. Patty, is there something else you'd like to touch on, or any other questions you'd like to answer?
No, I was just going to see, Scott, did you have anything that you wanted to add to Nancy's question about, mindset helping with things other than like IronHike? Did you have anything you wanted to add to that? Or
again, I'm going to default on it. It is really important to have discipline and to know your why, right? Why are you there? Right. That's it. Why are you there? So those 2 things, and they take you almost anywhere in life.
Agreed. Well, thank you so much. And you guys, thank you for participating in our first coaching call. This is kind of an overview. We're going to be getting deeper into the weeds with mindset, gear, nutrition and hydration, even recovery, like what to expect afterwards. And I know, Tasha, you've got some interesting info on that too. I think you and I kind of had the same experience with a lot of that. But, any of those subjects that interest you, please sign up and show back up for the coaching calls. We love having you here. John is recording these, and at some point we'll have them up on the YouTube channel. If you're not following IronHike Productions on social media, you should. And I just personally would like to thank you, all of you, John, Scott, and all of you guys that joined the call. Thank you so much. And hike on.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So join us again next month. These are our monthly calls with Coach Patty and Dr. Scott there. So we'll see you in the next call, and then we'll see you on the mountain. Thanks, everybody.